Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Saturday edition of Today in Sports Betting. And of course, if you're a regular of the show, you know Saturday usually means NASCAR, and today is no exception as we're going to take a look at the race down there in Homestead, Florida. And what better two people to take a look at it with than the two guys that are leading me in the Winners and Whiners Cup. First of all, we'll start with this the currently stands in second place. You know him, you love him, fighting out of the red corner from Long Island, New York. He is Scott Reichel. Scott, happy Saturday. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. Been hanging out. Looking forward to seeing some sports over the weekend. You got golf. You got UFC. You got NASCAR as well. So it should be a pretty entertaining weekend. Happy this race isn't at Martinsville. So hopefully we can get some better results coming up on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, don't be too excited about that till you see the Miami race. It's not good either. But this was a tough week for exciting racing for me. I don't like either one of these tracks, but you know what? We're going to get through it. You and I both made up ground on our next guest. He is he's a regular here on Today in Sports Betting, as he's a sniper at a number of sports, esports, UFC, and of course NASCAR, and that's why we've got him on today. From the heart of NASCAR country, he is Winning Willie. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? It seems like we were a little off with our picks Wednesday, but in the interest of full disclosure, I did have a bet on Martin Truex, so I wasn't too mad. But yeah, let's try and do a little better Sunday.
Well, Scott and I managed for the first time this season to pick up some ground on you, and Scott picked up 12 spots. I picked up 14 spots. You've still got a substantial lead on us, but we're cutting into that, buddy. I told you this is a long season, and I am not ready to hand over the Winners and Whiners Cup just yet.
Can I hear the lead that he has on the two of us?
Right now, Willie stands at 125. You're at 147, and I am at 171.
Okay, I'll take the 22. That's not bad.
Yeah,
one race will undo it.
And I actually won my first week last week. I edged out Scott by 3 positions. So, yeah, I'm on a roll, man. I'm on fire. I've been jacking around for the first few. Now I'm getting serious about this. So,
you're giving us a nice head start, so we appreciate that.
That's right. I really feel as the veteran on the staff, that's kind of my job to do that. So, well, we're going to take a look at the race here in Homestead. This is the Dixie Vodka 400. Willie, you're kind of down there in Dixie country. You ever had the Dixie Vodka?
I have not.
Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so. I don't know that we have it here.
Not familiar with it. Scott, you big Dixie Vodka fan? You get yourself a handle of Dixie Vodka for the weekend?
I'm more of a Costco vodka guy. It's cheaper. But
I don't notice any difference in vodkas. I got to be honest with you. I've had good vodkas. I've had crappy vodkas. That's the one liquor to me that all taste the same. Sorry.
The truth is, for vodka, for the sake of it, the burn means it's working. So it really just kind of doesn't matter too much. I think there are some exceptions where some are stronger than others. But in reality, I kind of agree with you. I feel like it's one of those where you can have any brand and you can just take a sip of it and you'll immediately know what it is. And you'll just be like, all right, I can't tell you whose this is, but I can tell it's vodka. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you Grey Goose from Finlandia, from Stoli, from Dixie Vodka. You know, maybe Dixie Vodka you could maybe there's like a little tobacco juice in it. I don't know how that works, but you know, we've come a long way from NASCAR as they kind of been known as the beer series, but they're branching off into vodka. Like, it's a brand new day for NASCAR. In all seriousness, guys, this has been a heck of a week for NASCAR. There's been a lot going on. No more flying the Confederate flag, and that's really been the big news. And I think we'd be remiss as a sports show if we didn't at least touch on that a little bit. Willie, how do you feel about that? You're down there in the South. You got that Southern pride, that Southern heritage. How do you feel about the stars and bars being removed from NASCAR events?
I mean, it's one of those weird subjects where being from the South, it doesn't mean that much to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care if the flag's there or not. But at the same time, I'm like, what is it? Does it really make that big of a difference?
That's a great question. That's an excellent question. It seems like you know, to certain segments of the population and to certain races, perhaps makes more of a difference than it does to you and I. I don't know. I can't speak to how other people feel with different heritage than I have, and I can say that, you know, it is kind of a weird deal, flying the flag of the country that seceded from the other country. I don't know. It's just it does seem weird that that's been as prominent as the features that it has been in the past. So we'll see. I know there's been a lot of blowback from NASCAR fans. A lot of people threatening never go to another NASCAR event, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see. Have to see if they follow through. We'll have to see if NASCAR picks up any new fans, you know, based on their more socially aware stand that they're taking. Scott, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I believe we talked about it briefly in the middle of last week, where I told you I have no idea what my state flag is. I don't. You told me that the Missouri flag has a bear on it, and you haven't seen it in your entire life.
2 bears, buddy.
Yeah, and you haven't seen a bear in Missouri in your entire life.
Never seen a bear.
So there's some type of state pride thing in the South that I can't relate to in New York because I have no idea what my state flag looks like, and I would never bring it to a race or bring it to any type of sporting event. I feel like the next move for the people that used to bring the Confederate flag are either to just bring the American flag, which no one would have a problem with, or just bring your individual state flag. I don't think you really need to bring a flag that represents the entire South when you could just either show state pride bringing your state flag, which no one will have a problem with, or just bring an American flag. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that either. So do I think it really matters? I definitely think that for inclusion, especially considering the fact that you have an African-American driver on the actual roster in Bubba Wallace, I think that it's a good move to have. Having said that, I do think that it is important in at least today's climate to be as progressive as possible. And I think that NASCAR decided to make a step, and they decided that if a couple of you are angry, we don't really care because we feel like it's the right move long term. And I kind of respect the fact that they actually put their foot in the sand. They kind of drew a line, and they decided this is where we are going to, make a stand. And I respect that. So for me, I don't really understand the whole state flag, that kind of stuff. And just, I'm not from the South, so I don't really understand why that is such a big deal as it is, in the South. So I can't testify to that. But as a whole, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference from a fan perspective watching if you see a Confederate flag in the stands or not. So from that perspective, I was fine with the move.
And it was kind of, in a way, it was overdue for NASCAR because they have in recent years set up programs to reach out to minority drivers. In fact, Bubba Wallace came through one of those programs where they actually outreach and give them, I try to identify drivers, minority drivers early and kind of get them into the program. So it kind of feel like something had to give. If you're going to reach out to minority drivers, it seems like you kind of can't embrace that side. Here's my question, Willie, as I'm sure you know, your state there in Mississippi still has the stars and bars on the state flag. So do you think can they get around this by just everybody flying the state flag of Mississippi?
I don't think that's a good idea just because of the fact that we don't have a race here. I mean, granted, if there's some people from Mississippi, yeah, sure. But
Right.
at the same time, what point do you make by flying just a random? It would be just basically be a random state flag at that point,
Yeah, I was saying that people are just probably going to bring their own state flags if they have a problem with it, because if you're going to be showing South pride, which is basically the defense of the Confederate flag, then you make the argument saying, why don't you just defend the South by bringing the flag of the state you actually live in? So I feel like that's probably the move that people are going to be using. Then again, once again, I haven't seen an actual state flag probably my entire life. So I don't know.
Well, I think, Scott, you and I are kind of the same way. Why do we care?
I'm saying I didn't at no point when I was ever watching a NASCAR race on TV, or I never went to a NASCAR race. I know that you have, so maybe you can touch upon it. I don't think it really changes the viewing experience depending on what flags I see in the background. I don't think that really matters. I'm there to watch the cars.
Only thing it is, it makes it easier for people to find which motorhome is yours. You tell them what flags you're flying. That's
I guess I don't. At no point on TV did I say, "Oh, I can't wait to see the Confederate flag around turn 3." That just no. So it doesn't make a difference to me.
all right. Okay, very good. Well, today we are headed to pretty much. They don't get much further south in this race. It's going to Miami Homestead. It is a track that was built right after Hurricane Andrew devastated that region down there in Miami, and Homestead in particular just absolutely wiped it off the map. This was a track that was built there in 93, 94, whenever that was, about 1.5 miles. It's been reconfigured a couple times. They've raised the banking up to 18 to 20 degrees, which makes it not as awful as it used to be. Just used to be just an awful, boring, flat oval, and they kind of modeled it after the Indy track, but without the banking. So, it's at least made for a little more user friendly racing, and we'll see if that continues here. Generally speaking, this is not one of my favorite tracks. I don't like Martinsville, I don't like Phoenix, and I don't like Homestead. But you know what? There's money to be made, so let's talk about this, guys. A lot of favorites here. And I know we talked about off air before we came on that we would probably have some of the maybe at least one of the same picks for all of us. Of course, we did that last week as well. Denny Hamlin has the pole for this one, followed by Logano, Kozlowski, and Kyle Busch. They're rounding out the top 4. As far as the people that got hosed in the top 12, Clint Boyer 12th. Ryan Blaney, I'm sitting on the pole last week. He is 11th. Kurt Busch checks in at 10th. And just in case you don't know how much difference that makes between 12th and 13th place, where Jimmy Johnson picked up the 12th spot last week, knocked Eric Almirola out of it. Eric Almirola, just like Jimmy Johnson did last race, he starts 21st in this one. So, gentlemen, I know we've got some very, very strong opinions on this race, some guys that have had some serious success. Willie, I'll give you the glory. Start us off, bud. Who's your first pick in this one?
Oh, I'm going to take the favorite in this one, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a pick across the board in Kevin Harvick. I touched on it briefly off air. I've never seen a stat line this impressive by any driver on any other track. He's starting 7th here. He's never finished lower than 20th in 19 starts. He's only won once, but he has 17 top 10s in those 19 starts with 11 top 5s. Leads all active drivers with an average finish of 6.47, and the closest to that is Chase Elliott at 9.5. So, I mean, there's by far no other driver in the field that's been that dominant at this track.
He's right. He's absolutely right. And Kevin Harvick has been nothing but consistent. Like Willie said, 19 starts, 17 top 10s. He's never finished out of the top 20. And you get a pretty good price on Mr. Harvick in that 4 car there at plus 500, I believe is what I've got it at here on Bet Online. Anybody have a better price than that?
I saw plus 500 as well.
All right. I think that's pretty static across the board. So Kevin Harvick in that 4 car certainly is the favorite in this one. Scott, you going with Harvick as well?
I am. And I'm sorry if I'm going to sound a little bit repetitive on what you just heard, but Harvick is definitely either the best driver in this race or at least a 1A, 1B with the second driver I'm going to be talking about in a second. He's starting 7th. He's finished top 6 in each of his last 6 Homestead races. We already talked about how Harvick has an average finish position below 7. So he is basically remarkable on this track every time he runs it. And he's also led at least 41 laps in 5 of his last 6 Homestead races. So he knows how to lead laps. He knows how to get to the front. And I expect Harvick to – I wouldn't be shocked to see him win as, I'm taking him. But I think he's – I don't want to say he's a lock to finish top 5, but you can make the argument he should maybe be a minus to finish top 5. And if that's the case, I don't know how you don't take him to win this thing. I think that there is a very, very strong chance he will finish top 3. And for that reason, I will take him to win the thing at plus 500.
All right. Well, guys, I'm jumping off the train here. I'm going to take the other one I think that Scott was looking at there as far as stealing a little bit of his second place thunder. I'm going to take Martin Truex Jr. also at plus 500. And I'll tell you why I'm going to fade Harvick here. Yes, he does very well at this track. He is a consistent finisher, always near the top. Problem is, he's only broken through to win one of those races in 19 starts. And for me, I like guys that win races. I don't like guys that finish fourth. I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. He's got 15 starts. He's got 10 top 10s out of that, 6 top fives, and he has won one race in that as well. He's been racing well lately, and it's hard to pit against Harvick. I'll give you guys that. Harvick has been definitely the guy to beat here, and he's certainly been racing well lately. But I'm going to fade Harvick just a little bit here. I love him for a top 5, but I think Martin Truex can sneak through and pick up the win in this race. So give me Martin Truex also at plus 500. I wish I had a little better number on him, but it is 500 across the board as far as Martin Truex goes. So that's going to be my first pick, Martin Truex Jr. plus 500. Thoughts, boys?
My second pick for this race is Martin Truex Jr. I feel like you knew where I was going with this one.
Know where you were going.
Yeah, it's also plus 500, which isn't ideal, but the fact that he's a co-favorite with Harvick tells you all you need to know about how dominant he's been at this track. Going through Harvick's numbers, they're insane. Truex's numbers are the only ones that could actually hold a candle to Harvick's numbers on this track. He's starting 6th, so roughly the same starting spot as Harvick. He won last week's race, so he is in very solid form. He's finished top 2 in each of his last 3 Homestead races. And it is worth mentioning that after a long period of time with one specific company, Truex eventually switched companies to Joe Gibbs Racing last year after the original company that he was with folded. And in his first race with Joe Gibbs Racing at this track, he led 103 laps, and he also finished top 2. So he's been phenomenal. I'm sure we can all agree that Joe Gibbs either is a top 1 or a top 2 organization in NASCAR or team. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So based on that, I have to assume that, even though he was very successful at his old team, I think we can agree that Joe Gibbs has some of the best equipment that you can ask for of any team. And I think that since he already finished 2nd with them last year with the elite level equipment, I think Truex is once again going to have a very solid finish. So for that reason, my second pick, I know it's very chalky, which is usually Scott's MO, but I'm going with Truex here, plus 500 as well. I just think that there's a prop on Fox Bet of Truex or Harvick to win the race at roughly plus 200, which is absolutely insane when it comes to just picking 2 racers. That shows how dominant they've been here. I know it's not the most glamorous pick or the sexiest pick, but I feel like taking Harvick and Truex are definitely a smart way to look at this race. So that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just couldn't make myself take both of them. I couldn't do double chalk again today. So that's kind of why I went with Truex over Harvick. Willie, what you got for your second pick?
Well, I'm actually not taking Truex with my second pick. Spoiler alert, he may pop back up in my prop bets, but I'm actually going to go Kyle Busch. And this may sound really repetitive here. I have him at 550 on DraftKings, but he's led more laps here than any other driver in the field. He only has 8 top 10s, 5 top 5s, and 2 wins in 15 starts. But as we've touched on, it seems like every show he's due for something at this point.
I
can't argue with that based on what we've seen so far.
That's a solid pick. And what are you getting Kyle Busch there at, Willie? I've got him at 550. Is that what you've got as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, for my second pick, I'm going a little away from the norm here. I'm going to go with Joey Logano. And I like Joey Logano at this track. He's got a decent record. He's got an average finish of 12th. He's run this race 11 times. He's got 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s. He does have a win there at Homestead. I think this kid's a solid driver, and I like the price on him. I was definitely attracted. Instead of throwing another 5 or 550 in there, I'm getting Logano at 10-1. I think I'm catching decent value here. Give me Joey Logano for my second pick at 10-1. All right, let's go take a look at long shots. And Willie, I know we talked about long shots. You thought we might match up on long shots. I don't think we're going to, but go ahead and get us started. Who you got for your long shot here, buddy? And there's not a lot of great picks for long shots here, by the way. It's not one of the juicier long shot tracks. So we're going to see if we can pull a needle out of the haystack here. Willie, what do you got? 15 or better, my friend.
I'm taking the timeless wonder in the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, at 22 to 1. He's starting ninth. He's only got one win, but he has 11 top 10s and 5 top 5s and 19 starts here. Average finish of only 14th. He hasn't been just overly impressive here, but I think he's going to get a win before this year's over with, and I definitely look for him to be towards the top of the field again this weekend.
Okay. All right. Very good. I certainly considered the old 48 car there. Scott, what do you got for your long shot?
So I was also considering Jimmy, but I've taken him over the lately, and he usually finishes in the top 10. But I decided to go in a bit of a different direction for fun. It's a little bit of a troll by me on you, Scott, but I will be going with Clint Boyer as my long shot here at 33 to 1 on DraftKings. The main reason why he's starting, I believe he's starting 15th. Is that correct?
He is starting 12th.
He's starting 12th. My bad. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you said that before, but yeah, okay, my bad. He's starting 12th, which definitely isn't bad. He came in. He's just been really good so far on this track in recent years. If you actually just break down his recent finishes, he's been solid at this track. He's finished top 12 in 10 of his last 12 races here. And Boyer, he has shown some spurts where he has had a top-tier car. You know, there's always a problem that happens, whether it's the lack of air conditioning or whether it's going to be some issue with his right tire. But at the end of the day, we both agreed, and you just said it before, that it's not really the most attractive track for long shots. So for that reason, 33 to 1 on a guy who's finished top 12 in 10 of his last 12 trips here, I think it's definitely worth a sprinkle. He's finished top 8 in his last 2 trips here. And, yeah, I know that experience definitely plays a factor on this track. And I think that Boyer definitely has that experience, and we can't really argue with that. So for me, 33 to 1, I think it's a decent price. I think Jimmy's also a decent option here. But, I decided why not? Because if I end up winning and Boyer actually comes through, I get to laugh at you for about the next 8 months. So
oh, yeah. That'll be a heartbreaking situation because I'm not taking Boyer. By the way, for everybody listening, I think that taking Jimmy to win and Boyer to win every week, taking a small step on that, I think that's ultimately going to pay off. I think that's going to be positive EV on both of those guys. I think both of those guys are going to get it.
They've shown flashes where they've been really competitive, right, and then it seems like something always goes wrong or
right,
the car just can't hold over the long period of time. But
I think those are two guys that are going to figure it out one of these races and put it all together. And I think they're going to I think they're both going to go to victory lane this year. All right. I'm going to go out on a limb here, guys. I'm going to go out on somebody that has absolutely no track record running a NASCAR race, at least running a Cup Series race here at Miami. He won the Xfinity race last year, and that, my friends, is Reddick. I like Reddick in this spot right here at 28 to 1. Kid's a good racer. And I think this is another guy that's going to certainly have a breakthrough season. It may not be this season, but I think he's going to be a quality racer for many years to come. And I think this is a track that fits his style very well. And I think he could surprise some folks here. I'll take Reddick at plus 28.
I see 30 to 1.
You got 30 to 1 on Reddick?
That's what I see. I'm going to shop, see if I can find any better lines, but I see 30 to 1 right now on Fox Bet.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take that extra grind there for sure. Well, you got any thoughts? On Reddick?
I'm actually, which I'll touch on that a little bit later, but I'm actually going against him in this race. I don't want to put anything behind him until I see how good he drives against tougher competition on this track.
Certainly reasonable. Certainly a reasonable position. I just think it at 30 to 1. I don't think the next time we have an opportunity to bet on him, I don't think we're going to get that good of a price. I'm going to try to catch a little bargain here. I'm going to try to catch a little lightning in a bottle. And yeah, this is truly a long shot because I actually like both of you guys' picks. Those are the two that I looked at. I looked at that 48 and looked at Boyer there in the 19 car. So yeah, I like both those. I think those are probably better picks than mine, but I like to go against the grain a little bit. I like to mix it up and throw some stuff out there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick for the.
Well, I think that Reddick definitely makes a lot of sense considering the fact that he has been, dominant in the Xfinity series on this track. But it's just one thing to beat people in the minors. I mean, in any sport, and that's another thing to have to go up to the majors and have to face these drivers who, let's just face it, they definitely have more experience than Reddick, and they're probably arguably better than Reddick. So there's one thing you have to keep in mind. Plus, is there an equipment disadvantage for Reddick? You might have to wonder about that. I don't really know, but
I wouldn't think so. Driving that 8 car for RCR, that was a pretty damn fine car when Dale Jr. drove it, and I don't think you're having much of a drop off there. I mean, it's not like you're it's not like you're waiting for the Wood Brothers or Front Row Motorsports.
No, but what I'm saying is, I'm assuming you can make the argument that Reddick might have had the best equipment in the Xfinity based on or at least I'd say top 5 equipments in terms of car.
Yeah, certainly possible.
That's what I'm saying. So he might not have that same luxury when he actually moved up to face, in the actual Cup race. That's the only argument I'm making. But I definitely understand where you're going. And of course, it does help when track record wise, he's been in this race 3 times and he's finished top 4 all 3 times, and he's won this race twice in the Xfinity. So I understand where you're coming from, but I do feel like he might have been in the upper echelon in terms of equipment in the Xfinity, and now it might be a little bit more towards, I don't want to say middle of the pack, but you know what I mean. So I think that
we'll see. I think RCR is probably comparable to Stewart-Haas. Willie, would you go with me on that one? I think you've got Hendricks. I think you got Penske. I think you got Joe Gibbs, and I think just maybe a half a step behind those guys, you've got Stewart-Haas and probably RCR. You go along with that?
Yeah, I'd probably put them right around in there. I would actually say they may be a little bit better than Stewart-Haas, but
could be. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. This should be, like I said, an interesting race. And I like that we got a little action going here between the 3 of us. So that gives me more cars to root for or root against other than just my betting interest. So should be fun. And now the time that I know that everybody loves to tune in and find out what we got cooked up as far as props go. And got a couple of matchups. You know what? I'm going to get it started, and I'm going to hedge my Truex bet just a little bit, and I'm going to take for my first pick. I'm going to take Harvick over Truex at -112. I feel like that gives me a little bit of a backdoor cover there. If Harvick were able to break through for the victory, obviously I'm not getting 5-1 on it, but I'll take Harvick to pick up some ducats there if Truex falters in this race. So that's going to be my first matchup: Harvick over Truex -112. Scott, what do you got?
So my prop is going to be kind of similar. My prop's going to be kind of similar. Just a quick question for you. In terms of hedging, with what you just said about Truex, it's kind of the logic that I had with some of these props, where I kind of tried to find as much value when it came to, let's say, hedging against some of the favorites here. But one prop, I've always taken it. As you know, I'm a huge car manufacturer guy. I'm going to be taking Harvick to be top 4 to +190 on DraftKings. You mentioned how good Logano is on this track, and I do agree. But I think Harvick's easily a 1A, 1B situation for this track, probably the favorite for a reason in terms of his track record. And Logano, even though I do think Logano is good, his car has faded a little bit recently. So I think that he starts off really well. He does well for a couple stages, and I expect Logano to probably finish somewhere around 5th. I think Harvick should finish top 3. But at the end of the day, I think Harvick is definitely the best Ford in this race, and +190 for a guy who finishes on an average lower than 7th is an absolute steal for me. I think that'll be probably around +150, +140. So +190 on Harvick, top Ford. Definitely, I got to put some money on that.
All right. Yeah, I just didn't love that price. I was kind of the opposite. I wanted to see it closer to 230, 240.
Well, you can hypothetically take him and Logano and then just fade Keselowski, who's had mixed results here.
That's true. That's true too. And I wasn't playing recording secretary here on your play, Scott. I know you had Harvick at +500, you had Truex at +500, and you had Clint Boyer. What'd you have the number on him?
33-1.
Okay. All right. All right, very good. Willie, what's your next prop? What do you got? You got a matchup? You got a manufacturer? What do you got?
I've got a matchup, and it's funny you guys mentioned hedging because I too am hedging my Kyle Busch bet. I'm taking Chase Elliott at plus 105 over Kyle Busch. Chase has an average finish here of 9.5, which is second amongst active drivers. Highest finish of only fifth, but he's never finished lower than 15th. And it's a good hedge opportunity, I think.
All right, so that's Chase Elliott over Kyle Busch plus 105 on that one. All right, yeah, Chase Elliott has run well at this track. I keep, there's another guy I keep waiting for him to break through, and I know he had a victory here not too long ago, but it seems like he's been close just about every single week. So, Willie, let me get your. I'm gonna get caught up here on 2-2. Now you had Harvick. Who was your second pick?
Kyle Busch.
And what do we have on him? 550.
Yes.
Okay. And then I know you had Jimmy Johnson 20, 22, 28. What'd you have him at?
22.
Okay, sorry guys. I keep forgetting that I'm the one doing this. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we're caught up. All right, so I'm taking a look at another matchup prop here, and I'm pretty much I'm going to take Denny Hamlin over Brad Keselowski. Denny Hamlin is a guy that we didn't talk a lot about, but he's had a lot of success at this racetrack as well. Average start about 10.5. He's made 15 starts there at Homestead, brought home 10 of those 15 races, top 10. He has won twice, including 4 top 5s. Very solid racer. Kind of had some bad racing luck here the last couple of weeks, and I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him win, and I'll be disappointed because I didn't take him, but I do have him. Over the 2 car. You have Brad Keselowski. Give me Hamlin over Keselowski at minus 110.
Well, I think it's actually kind of funny you mentioned that because that ties into the second prop I took. This is kind of another hedge, but I think the value here is definitely high. It's Joe Gibbs driver to win the race at plus 165 on Fox Bet. And the main reason why, I already talked about how I like Harvick, and now I have Harvick once again for top Ford. Joe Gibbs has a lot of quality racers for the sake of this track, and I think that plus 165 is a little bit of a steal. In addition to getting Truex, you basically double down on Truex, who is either the best or the second best driver in the field, historically speaking, on this track. You get Kyle Busch as well, who's been phenomenal here, and there's a reason why Willie took him. And you also get Denny Hamlin. And you throw in Eric Jones, and I'm not really taking this prop for Jones at all, but you get those 3 for plus 165. Definitely seems like a pretty good hedge considering the fact that I'm taking Truex and Harvick anyway. So you basically double down on Truex for an extra unit, an extra 1.65 units. And you also have a pretty good hedge there with Kyle Busch and Hamlin. Plus 165, I'm definitely going to take that for a unit.
I think that's a solid play for sure. I certainly like him as far as a manufacturer. I mean, a team owner goes. You can certainly make the case that Penske's right up there with Logano and Keselowski, as well as Ryan Blaney, who has shown flashes this season. But I think plus 165. I think that's a hell of a price. I like that play. I mean,
you're getting 3 drivers who have won this race before, so
yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good way to spend a plus 165 borderline hedge right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Willie, what do you got for second prop?
I was going to give my second matchup prop here, but instead I'm going to dive down that rabbit hole here with Scott. I got the team of race winner, Joe Gibbs Racing. This is where the 4 drivers of theirs rank among the active drivers in average finish right now. Truex is 3rd, Hamlin is 4th, Kyle Busch is 13th, Eric Jones is 14th. The 4 of them have 5 wins here collectively. They got plenty of experience, and anytime you can bet Joe Gibbs Racing as a collective to win at plus money, you can't pass it up.
I agree. I agree. That's a solid play for sure. You have that at plus 165. Also, you got any better price on that?
I do not.
All right.
It's on Fox Bet at plus 165.
All right. I'm putting
Plus
both of you guys down for Joe Gibbs plus 165. All right, boys. Very nice play. That's rooting out those truffles there, boys. That's getting down deep. I like it a lot. And I'm going to go with my last prop here. I'm going all in on the kid, who's no longer a kid. Going bald, by the way, that makes me feel old. Joey Logano started to lose his hair. That makes me feel very, very old.
He's losing his hair. He's got the glasses while he's driving. A little bit of an old soul over there.
I know, dude. I can remember when he was, 18 when he came up driving that driving the car. So yeah, not good. But yeah, I like him over Elliott. Getting a little positive value on Joey at plus 105, and yeah, I'm basically back on Logano this weekend, so I'm gonna jump in with both feet on him and take him over Chase Elliott at plus 105. Hopefully, Chase Elliott will continue to fade late in the race, as it happened here the last few times, his one victory notwithstanding. Give me Joey Logano, very consistent racer. Always there, good track for him. I like him over Chase Elliott plus 105. Scott, what do you got for your last prop?
So the last prop is going to be my only matchup prop here, and there's a couple reasons why I like it. Once again, I'm kind of doubling down on a guy, but it's going to be a matchup between Clint Bowyer and Will Byron, and I love Bowyer here at minus 110 on Fox Bet. Simply put, it sounds very simple, but it's true. Bowyer's been good on this track, and Byron's has not. So I think minus 110 is definitely a good deal. It is worth mentioning that this matchup is also available on DraftKings, and Bowyer's minus 121. You can get it at minus 110 on Fox Bets. You're already saving 11 cents of juice right there. A couple reasons why, though. Bowyer, as I said before, finished 12th or better each of his last 3 trips here. He's been very good, and he's also finished top 12 in 10 of his last 12 races here. Where Byron has never finished better than 24th here. He has been no stranger to the wreck in the past, and this track has not been too kind to him in that aspect over the course of his very, very young career. So for that reason, I tend to side for experience on this track. Bowyer's got a lot of experience. Byron does not. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Byron get involved in some type of wreck at some point in this race. But I expect Bowyer to finish top 10 once again. And I think that Byron should finish probably somewhere in the high teens, low 20s, barring a massive crash. So for that reason, minus 110 looks like a steal for me. So that's going to be my only matchup prop of the race.
Okay, very good. You got a top 10 on Bowyer, by the way?
I believe I saw plus 105, but let me just confirm that. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad bet conceptually because all my long shots and pretty much the last, 7 races have finished in the top 10.
Right.
But
that's kind of what I was wondering.
Bowyer, I see plus 100 on DraftKings, and I see minus 105 on Fox Bet. So I guess that line moved from plus 105 to minus 105. So I see plus 100 as the best line available.
I think that's a solid play. I don't even hate Bowyer top 5 at plus 400. That's a nice, that's a decent price as well. But all right, Willie, what do you got for a last prop for us?
I'm going to look at it's my last matchup, and I alluded to it earlier. I'm going to take Eric Almirola at plus 120 over Tyler Reddick. This will be Tyler Reddick's first Cup Series race here, and as we mentioned earlier, I don't know that his equipment's going to do me any favors. On the other hand, Almirola has 3 top 10 here and 10 starts with he's finished 4th here also one time, and I'm just going to back the experienced driver here in this matchup.
The issue that makes sense for me. The one issue I have with Almirola is that he seems like he does really well if they would just chop the race in half, and it seems like in the second half of the race he either has a battery issue or he crashes into a wall or somebody bumps him. I feel like Almirola always seems to have car issues later in races. Is that just me, or have you noticed that as well? Because I feel like he's always going to the pits with some type of car issue.
It certainly seems like he's been snake bit here the last few races for sure. And I know you and I talked a little bit about it earlier, that we were surprised that he was in the top 12. Of course, he's not now, but before the last race there at Martinsville, he was a top 12 racer. So that was he's one of those sneaky guys that all of a sudden you look up and there he is. All of a sudden, he's steady Eddie all the way through the race and works himself into the top 15, top 10 consistently when he doesn't have issues. Willie, what'd you say? You're getting the price on that one, minus 120?
Plus 120.
Plus 120. Plus 120. Look at you. All right. Yeah, that's a fair bet. Even though I've got Reddick, I understand the logic there. I certainly know the danger of taking a guy that's never run a Cup race at this track before. But yeah, I can go along with that, even though you're fading me. I think that's a solid play. All right, so there's 3 props for everybody. Who's got extra props? Anybody? Scotty, got any extra props?
I was actually looking for a potential foursome, but I decided not to pull the trigger on it. It's a foursome between Kenseth, DiBenedetto, Dillon, and Newman. I was looking at potentially taking Dillon and Newman both at plus 280 and kind of fading Kenseth and DiBenedetto. The issue there is that Kenseth historically has been really good here, but we talked about how after replacing Kyle Larson, he looks either overwhelmed by the lack of quality equipment or he's just lost a step or two. He's not the same guy he used to be. And Kenseth, I feel like any finish, as we said last week, any finish below 20, I consider a moral victory for him at this point. So he's the favorite in that foursome at plus 215. I don't think he should be favored in anything. So I don't really think that's a good deal. Newman and Austin Dillon have had some success on this track, usually finish somewhere around the top 15, top 14. I know Dillon had a bit of a scare. I believe it was Austin Dillon last week who got carried out of his car from dehydration. Was that Austin or was that Ty? I forgot who that was.
I think it was Austin Dillon.
That's what I thought. So he had a pretty eventful week, especially after collapsing in his car in pit road, and they had to carry him to a stretcher, which wasn't ideal. Plus, I believe his wife is due to have a baby in about any day now. So he's had a lot of emotions going on over the last week or so, but he's been good here. I know Newman's been pretty good here, and even though I kind of roasted Newman over the last couple of weeks as, being more of a name at this point, he's actually been a somewhat steady guy inside the top 15 over the last couple of weeks. So I think that he is going to do decently here. Kenseth should probably finish 20-something just based on the car he's been driving. And DiBenedetto, I feel like people always talk about as being some potential up-and-comer guy. I've never seen it. I don't really see what the hype is there. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe he needs better equipment or he'll sign somewhere. But am I wrong here about DiBenedetto? I just don't see what all the hype is surrounding.
Well, he certainly hasn't done well at this track. He's got 2 starts in this track and it never finished higher than 20th.
Yeah, so for that reason, you got 2 options there at plus 280. So I don't think that's a bad play. Am I going to play it? No. But in terms of that foursome, you get half the field. We talked about how bad DiBenedetto has been here, and Kenseth has looked like a lost cause. So you're getting 2 guys who usually finish top 14 in Dillon and Newman at both plus 280. All you need is to win one of them, and then you make a pretty decent amount of profit there. So that's definitely an option. But I'm going to pass.
Okay.
You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I know how we get our show to an hour when we spend 5 minutes on bets we're not taking.
I really wanted to pull the trigger. It's just a matter of, I don't know. Part of Kenseth scares me a bit. I don't really know why, but I feel like you can agree in terms of consistency lately, taking Dillon and Newman as kind of a who wants to be a millionaire 50-50 option there as you get half the field. Definitely not a bad look when both sides are plus 280. Would you agree with that?
I don't hate it. I haven't liked much of what Kenseth has done since coming back in that 42 car. That just doesn't seem to be a good match for him. I don't hate that play. You pick up a little profit with one of those 2 guys. Willie, what do you think? Got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. If I was to play it, that's how I would play it. But I don't know that I would be willing to just jump right into it because Kenseth is that guy that could just randomly pop up in the top 10 or something.
Mm-hmm. And he's a good driver at this track. That's the thing. He does have skills at this track, and that may come to the forefront by the end of this race. Willie, do you have any other props for us?
I do have one last one, and it's I believe one of you guys picked it. It says, but it's going to be the Stage 1 winner, Martin Truex Jr. at 7-1. He's starting 6th. He ranks 3rd amongst active drivers with an average finish of 10.2. He knows the track, and I can't pass up a 7-1 payout for him to take the Stage 1.
All right. I know your stage bets didn't quite come in last week, so but you'd been pretty hot talking about the about them before that. So yeah, I like that. It certainly is right in line with the way my drivers have performed, where I would be pretty much leading this series by a lot if the races were half as long as they actually are. So, yeah, that certainly tracks, Willie, that the driver that I have picked is my number 1 choice. should lead stage one, and before falling to somewhere around 13th or 14th by the end of the race. So very good. Very nice pick indeed. All right, boys. Got anything else?
I took Truex to lead stage one last week, and then he won the race and lost stage one. So I'm going to take a pass on that one.
All right. Scott, you want to give us a quick update on the UFC for tonight? I know there's been a lot of changes, a lot of bouts that have been eliminated from the card. You want to give everybody a quick thumbnail sketch of what's changed for tonight's UFC card?
Yeah. So there's been a couple of changes here and there. Some fights are expected to go on anyway, even though they probably shouldn't. But I'll just to go through everything here. Ray Borg, who was supposed to fight against Dvalishvili, he ended up dropping out because of the fact that his son actually has some serious medical emergency, which caused him to drop out. So thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Definitely, very. It's a good thing to know that he has his priorities in order because family always comes first.
Are they subbing anybody for him last minute, or is that fight just off the card?
I've seen some reports they're going to be subbing in some guy named Gustavo Lopez, who's roughly a plus 600 underdog here. So he's pretty much just signed to get a paycheck and to get destroyed, which is kind of like what ESPN had on boxing over the course of the week, where every single fight has like a minus 1,000 favorite in it, and
right.
You know who's going to win basically the first 2 minutes. But yeah, so Borg is going to be out. You also have the Minor fight, which is officially canceled as Minor had some medical issue or something. It's not a good sign when you have weigh-ins and one of the fighters doesn't show up to weigh-ins. That's not exactly an ideal situation. So the Griffin Minor fight's also going to be off, and as Minor had to drop due to some health issues. Other than that, you had Roberson against Vettori, which already got dropped once because Roberson didn't make weight. Roberson showed up to the scales 5 pounds overweight. I don't know how that's even possible. I mean, you 5 pounds? That's ridiculous. It's like at some point he just realized, I'm not going to make it. I might as well just have that second tub of ice cream. So I don't really know, but apparently that fight's going to keep going on, which I mean, logically, Vettori's going to take a third of his purse automatically, win or lose, because of the fact that Roberson has an advantage. But apparently that fight's going to continue. So Roberson missed weight there, so bet that one accordingly. And last but not least, you have Jessica Ai. We talked about laying off on this fight until you actually saw the weigh-ins, because Ai has had issues making weight in the past. And she missed weight by 1/4 of a pound. Not as bad as Roberson, but I mean, she missed weight, so it's not that big of a deal being 1/4 of a pound over. But at the end of the day, Calvillo will be getting a percentage of her purse, so keep that in mind. I'm going to pass on that fight now because I missed weight, but I have seen a bit of money coming in on Calvillo, who's gone from roughly even money that we talked about before to roughly minus 130. So there has been a steady stream of money coming in on the dog there, or, you know, in the seedings perspective, in the rankings on the dog. So overall, most of the fights are still in place, but you've had a couple of changes here and there, and you've had some issues with fighters making weight. So that's pretty much all you need to know about what's been going on with the UFC.
It's a bad card that certainly didn't get any better.
Yeah, it got worse, but it is what it is.
All right. Willie, I think you were the only smart one, as you completely bailed on our UFC show. That was pretty funny, where you just couldn't find anything that you loved about those fights. And I don't blame you. After going through them, not too much to be excited about.
Yeah, I just couldn't make a case either way for most of the fights. So I just said, there was really no point for me to come on if I didn't really have an opinion. You know? Right.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, boys. Well, that's a show right there. That is our last show of the week as we take a look at the NASCAR racing today in sports betting. And, like Scott alluded to earlier, we do have a lot going on this weekend, relatively speaking. We've got the third and fourth rounds of the golf tournament there. We've got an Xfinity race here this afternoon with Dale Jr. going to be running in that. Maybe we got some trucks running, and then we got the big boys going at it tomorrow. So should be fun. NASCAR final round of the golf tournament. It'll be a full Sunday and a lot of nice weather out there. So don't get too locked into that TV. Get out there and get yourself some exercise, get yourself some fresh air, soak in some of that good vitamin D. That's what I'm saying. Boys, any parting thoughts here before we go?
Not really. Just hoping that the sports is going to be entertaining this weekend, and looking forward to seeing some sports come back in the future. I feel like we keep talking about it. Hopefully, baseball can figure it out. It probably won't. We've talked about it before. Seems like every single time a new proposal gets offered, it gets rejected as quickly as it was released. So maybe something could happen. I feel like everybody publicly is starting to just get bothered about baseball and kind of is now indifferent on whether or not they come back because people are just so fed up with the whole process. Do you feel that way? Because that's kind of the sentiment I've noticed.
Yeah, it's. I think people have definitely started.
They've reached a tipping point where they're just basically said, "I hate both sides now. I don't really care."
Yeah. It's. I think people are starting to make plans for a summer without baseball, and that's definitely not what baseball wants to do, man. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need a year off. You know.
And now basketball is also potentially imploding once again with all of the issues about the bubble. I know Kyrie Irving had some type of group chat with other star players yesterday, and he was basically the driving force on trying to not have the season come back. There's a mix between some bubble issues along with playing which would distract from all the protests and stuff happening publicly. It's definitely a very interesting discussion there, but it might, you know what I mean? It's not exactly an ideal situation for the NBA, who already had an agreement in place to return, and now everything seems to be blowing up once again. So,
isn't Kyrie Irving the one that said the Earth is flat?
You're not wrong.
Okay,
but he made a statement about what's going on in the world, and it seems like other players support him, or at least some of them support him. I know LeBron publicly came out and basically just said the opposite of what Kyrie said, and basically said, we should play. And I feel like LeBron's word holds more sentiment than Kyrie's word, but it really depends on the player's individual opinion about everything that's been happening lately. So you never know, but there has been some issues with regard to the bubble, and hopefully those get resolved. But it seems like the only sport that's drama-free right now doesn't even have a return date, and that's hockey. So,
yeah, looking they're still on track. They're in phase 2, getting ready to enter phase 3 here before too long.
They announced Vegas as one of the hub cities, so just keep that in mind.
First couple of weeks in August is what I'm looking at here for hockey. I think that's still on track. So
yeah, that sounds about right. They haven't formally announced anything, but hopefully basketball ends up not completely imploding. But they're at a crossroads.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of respike in the numbers. I hope this isn't the second wave that they've been talking about as we've loosened up restrictions and everything. But you know what? I'll save the depressing talk for another day. Willie, any final thoughts?
I'm just going to be interested to see how it's going to work out for NASCAR this weekend. They're allowing up to 1,000 people there, fans, if you will, said military members and their families. I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and that could be really the sign that we need if everything goes without a hitch.
And I still think we should pool all of our money and buy tickets to Talladega and then resell them. I think that is going to be one of the hottest tickets around, as Talladega will be the first major sporting event that's going to be have actual fans, as they are going to allow 5,000 people in the stands here for the Talladega race. So I'm guessing that's going to be a hot ticket, and that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm with you, Willie. It will be fun to see, how it goes with people in the stands. And I know we talked yesterday. I guess WWE is going to actually have a few people out watching that are that work for the company there. So people are kind of starting to sneak back in there. We'll see what happens. And you know what? When it happens, we'll be here to talk about it on Today in Sports Betting. So, guys, as always, thanks for stopping by. Willie, always a pleasure. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Have a great weekend.
Oh, most definitely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Scotty, I know you got a weekend chock full of fun. Plus, you've got the $1 million guarantee that you're playing in tomorrow. So, maybe when we come back Monday, maybe Scott won't be part of the show. Maybe he will be independently wealthy and decided to set up a boat shop down there in Zihuatanejo, down in Mexico. So we'll see what happens. Scott, good luck in your tournament tomorrow, buddy.
Thanks. It's a couple days, so hopefully I'll make it to day 2. So you'll see me on Monday, no matter what. Anyway.
Oh, that's right. It's a 2-day affair. It's a 2-day Monday, Sunday and Monday affair. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get some reports on Monday about how deep you are, as opposed to who snapped you off on the river, hitting their flush. So,
Yeah, something like that. Sounds about right. So we'll see, but hopefully it ends up turning into a profitable weekend.
very good. All right. So until then, we appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, I am Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel. He is also Winning Willie. And we are the guys over there at winnersandwhiners.com. And, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to stop by winnersandwhiners.com. Check out our great content every single day. It is the #1 site for analytics, for predictions and previews on anywhere on the interwebs. And you should make sure that you stop by there, winnersandwhiners.com, and our sister site over there at statsalt.com as well. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. We appreciate you watching. Of course, drop us a comment. Let us know you're out there. Let us know how you're playing all the events this weekend. If you got anything cooking, we'd love to know what it is, and especially those long shots. Give us those long shots, man. We'd like to catch those big tickets. All right. You guys have a great weekend. Take care. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again on Monday. Until then, you guys take care. Bye-bye.